Can you tell me a bit more about how the Bridge Clinic operates in practice?
All patients are scheduled by appointment, so we don't take walk-ins where they just walk in. So the clinic is only open at night after normal business hours. So they open at 5 o'clock in the evening and it stays open until 9 p.m. at night. Now, there are some state requirements for what we call free clinics, and the patient has to meet that requirement. They may not know what those requirements are, but they can come in or they can call someone and they can go through the list with them. Usually it's going to mean that they don't have insurance. They must be a resident of the state or declared resident, which means we may not know whether they are really a citizen or not. Because we do get a lot of immigrants. My whole goal is trying to help them with their medical care. I have seen patients that actually die. And so I'm very, very sensitive, and I try to avoid the politics, and if they need help, we just try to get them in there. And so they also have to have either an income that what we consider in the US below the poverty guidelines. And that's about less than about $17,000 a year. That's total household income, including 2 people. So they have to have it. Now, I don't check that. We have social work who can check those things. And they're not supposed to have more than $2,500 in their bank account. For pharmacy to see that patient, we use the typical old medication therapy management guidelines. And that includes they must be taking 5 or more chronic medications. They could be non-prescription or prescription meds. They have to have at least one chronic disease state that's being managed on a long term. That's going to be things like hypertension, diabetes, and even certain cardiovascular conditions. Their laboratory values have to be outside the normal range, and that is one of the criteria by which they are seen by pharmacy. And they have to be non-adherence to medication based on some review that we've seen, or either that they're not getting refills or they are just missing doses or not understanding. And then health literacy and cultural differences it plays a big part, because many of our patients the majority of patients coming to our clinic is probably 80 to 90% Hispanic. We don't get too many African-American patients coming in. We don't get too many white patients.
I understand that clinic consultations are free, but what about medicines? What if people have no insurance to cover medicines?
You can imagine, in this country right now with the pandemic going on, a lot of people have lost their jobs. Out of work, no insurance. And we're seeing it now in the Bridge Clinic. We have people come in now. We had a lady there just the other night. She has diabetes, lost her job, no insurance, no way to get her insulin. So lo and behold, the medical staff comes to us and says, "John, how do we get this lady insulin? Because she can't afford it." And we know what will happen if she can't get her dosing done. She's probably her outcomes are not going to be good. Fortunately, in Florida, they have what we call an insulin distribution program that's ran by the state. And the criteria for them to get free insulin is the same one I just gave you a moment ago for criteria for being below the poverty line. So what that means, we can write the prescription, get the doctor to sign it. Most of the time, they only covers 2 insulin, the regular and the NPH insulin, and the one of the combinations. And so we write the prescription. There's a form, which I call a referral form. There's another official name for it, but it just lists the patient's background information. We write the prescription and we give it to the patient. We direct them to go to a state Department of Health office. Some of those offices have pharmacies in those offices. We have them all around the city of Tampa. And when I was in Miami, we had quite a few in Miami as well. Now, if a pharmacy is located in that facility when they go there, they can get the insulin right away. If not, the prescription is faxed to a state office located far away up in the capital of the state in Tallahassee, and then it's mailed to the patient's home.
I see. And lastly, how do people get to know about the clinic and get to use its services?
We have an announcement that goes out over the radio. We have brochures that we send out into the community. We give some of those brochures to patients that come in and let them know that if they know other people who may want to use the services, they can come to the clinic. And so we, in the pharmacy team, design our own little pharmacy brochure that we send out. We don't do it that often because the patients that do come in still have to be under a physician provider. So they're mostly word of mouth. They're coming there by information that we put on the website, and sometimes information that we mail out to the community. So that's how we get them in there. We also use the service because we go out into the community at least twice a year. At least I go twice a year. The team is going more than that. And we set up what we call health screening clinics all around our churches. You could be out in an open park somewhere. And we spend the day, at least a half of the day out there screening patients. And when we're doing the screening, many of them do not have a doctor. So we refer them over to the bridge clinic. So that's another way we get them to come in.